YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I'm going to bring you another Total War Rome 2 online battle. This time I'm going to be trying out a slightly less orthodox Macedonian build that's based around hoplites. And then I've got Thurio Spears, and Thessalian Cav, 3 Rhodian Slingers, and a couple of Agrionian Axemen. Now, Carthage is far stronger infantry power than Macedon, in my opinion. They have great swordsmen, but Macedon has the cavalry edge for the most part. Carthage does have mercenary Campanian Cav, but they can only bring 2. And I guess they also have Numidian Noble Cav, which are very capable. When it comes to shock cavalry and cost effectiveness, I would give the edge to Macedon just slightly, though I would say that Carthage is not without good cavalry tools. I do have Rhodian Slingers versus his Balearics. I want to say that the two are very similar, if not almost the same. 10, 24, 4. I don't. 12, 20. Yeah, they're very close. Not a whole lot of difference between the two. The Balearic Slingers have more melee defense. But whatever the case, I'm thinking the missile fight, I'm trying to think of a way to win it. And the infantry fight, my infantry is just meant for holding. Of course, my Thurio Spears could potentially support against cavalry, but also hold for a short time against infantry. This is my unit for supporting cavalry and then getting into the flanks. So the plan here is you can see the axe hitched to their belt. Once they get done throwing javelins, they have an axe attack that you can bring into the rear flank, which is pretty devastating. This is not the best unit, but it's not bad. And basically my plan is, once I saw his companion Cav, I was like, you know what, I just need to get his companion Cav pinned, and I'm going to kill them with the javelins from my Agrionian Axemen. And as long as I can do that, it should leave me enough cavalry to hammer and anvil at his infantry before they're able to gain an advantage over my men. Now, one of the things that I want to touch on in this battle is situational awareness. And I saw what looked like a bunch of hoplites, and I did not notice that he had 2 units of African pikemen. And we're going to see how that plays out later. So you need to be situationally aware. Just because you start seeing hoplites, don't assume that that means everything is, because it could potentially turn out as trouble. We'll see whether or not that's the case here. So again, mercenary Campanian Cav. My opponent chose to go infantry heavy rather than Cav heavy, but he's got 2 very capable Cav units. He probably expected swords from me, but I did not bring swords. A lot of Macedonian players will still bring swords. Now, notice how his slingers were still repositioning and had their infantry in the way, and I come up here and get the first shots on his unit of Balearic Slingers and do a lot of damage. My guys get into rapid reload, and they're going to start quickly pouring fire down on this one unit, which is severely beaten down already, all the way down to 52 men. So I get the initial skirmishing advantage here, which is going to turn it in my favor. And for this reason, my opponent's going to push forward. His advantage is infantry. He definitely has an infantry advantage here. His Carthaginian hoplites are better, and his swordsmen can beat my men. And the problem I have is, say right here. For instance, look, he's got Libyan infantry coming after me here. And I forgot to put my Thurio Spears on fire at will. I believe I did, at least. So they're not actually even going to throw any javelins. But what I probably should have done here was throw javelins and then pull back. And then try it again. Try and get at least a couple of throws, and then I might have been able to just quickly hammer an anvil or support with my Thessalian Cav. But anyway, you can see that the skirmishing fight's going to go in my favor. Instead, I just let my guys sit here and take the charge of these swords. They can hold okay. And my shield bearers really should have gotten the charge here too. Look, he charges in with the African pikemen. And they're not in phalanx formation. But these guys are. And again, I didn't quite notice that these were African pikemen. Now, it didn't cost me anything big. I managed to get some kills on his mercenary Samnite warriors over here, but not a whole lot because they're mercenary Samnite warriors. And again, I get a charge and get into his guys, but his guys are going to push me back here because they have their pikes down. I didn't realize these were pikemen. It was a huge mistake on my part. And now my general is facing a phalanx as well. So again, what should have been an easy win for my general, I didn't realize he was up against pikemen. Now, I immediately split a gap right here with my hoplites, but my opponent had units in reserve, and so he's able to start chasing them. And I'm going to pull this cavalry through as well. And if we look over here, his mercenary Campanian Cav are pinned like I wanted them, and my Agrionian Axemen got a lot of javelins off, and these guys quickly get destroyed. Javelins are fantastic against heavy Cav, so I managed to get one of his Campanian Cav. Over here, though, my opponent sees what I'm doing, and make sure to get into my Agrionian Axemen, and these Campanian Cav are going to survive. And I already pushed my Thessalian Cav through the gap, seeing that I'm losing the fight, knowing that I've got to get some hammer and anvil strikes fast, and I was delayed with this unit here. I should have driven it through this gap, but I didn't, and now I have to come clean around, and my opponent is quickly gaining an advantage in the infantry fight. And again, all the while, my general's taking severe damage to these African pikemen when there was no need for such a thing to happen. I could have retreated, and my slingers would have easily killed the pikemen. But instead, now I finally see it, and I start retreating away from these pikemen at least, and I'm going to put my slingers against them and kill a bunch of them, but not before they can't turn around and try and be annoying. And then now his cavalry is free with infantry support. This is a problem, and my cav is busy desperately driving home hammer and anvil strikes against his own. And again, look, I got delayed here, so just bad. I really had to be over here sooner, and I was not. I'm going to try and kill some of his cavalry with my Rhodian slingers, but now I've got a huge problem. My Rhodians are going to be wide open to his Campanian Cav, which will destroy them utterly and entirely. So this is very bad. So plus I have Campanian Cav behind me, which is just bad in general. So the fight was fairly even. It's not going to be now, and all in all, my shield bearer is actually, considering it's gone headlong into a phalanx, has done fairly well. But again, I just now realized it was headlong into a phalanx. Again, I didn't notice these units were African pikemen. I could have easily destroyed them with my slingers had I been paying attention, but I did not. And I also lost track of this Campanian Cav over here. I should have kept my javelins from a safer distance, and I could have destroyed it as well. So my plan worked out partially. I did destroy his Campanian Cav the way I'd hoped, and I was able to find some gaps in his line like I'd hoped. But I was not able to drive home hammer and anvil strikes in time, and this left me open to a lot of pain from his cavalry. Now this Campanian Cav just killed a lot of my slingers, which makes it a fairly cost-effective unit at this point. And again, I'm going to get some nice strikes. We're going to even kill a few of his men, but it's just not going to work out the way I want. And somehow I'm letting my general get caught up here again. He probably didn't retreat when I wanted him to. So my opponent's got his Campanian Cav here, and these guys are just now super tanky. They're not wanting to die. Especially since I don't have the right units to support killing them, and it's going to take multiple charges for my Thessalians to kill this mercenary Campanian Cav because they're very heavy. And after the charge is over, my Thessalians won't be doing so good against them, especially now that these guys have 3 chevrons with 76 attack. Very good units. So I try and make the fight as even as I can, but because I was never able to deliver hammer and anvil blows here like I needed to, this fight is slowly turning against me. Again, his units over here were superior. I mean, I did alright, all things considered, but that's the thing when you bring this hoplite army, you're going to lose against pretty much any other infantry, especially against Carthage, and you've got to be able to drive that advantage. So had I properly used my Thessalian Cav to, say, fix his Campanians here earlier, and then I could have just started throwing javelins with my Agrionians, it would have killed them, and then the other unit should have immediately split this gap and driven home a hammer and anvil strike. And then this one over here, again, probably should have come around over here and drive home more hammer and anvil strikes. And then I should have paid closer attention here. Again, 1 Thessalian Cav and then javelins to take out the Campanian Cav. So I had the right idea. I think a decent plan. I didn't execute it well, and my opponent executed his strategy better. My unawareness of his pikemen cost me big time because it led to basically the death of my general. My general could have easily retreated, drawn the pikemen through the lines, and then they would have gotten hit with slingers. So again, I made some key mistakes here where you just got to be more situationally aware. My slingers were doing a great job. It's unfortunate that I let them get killed. They had plenty of ammunition left. And my infantry really did fine, all things considered. Now look, this is the Agrionian that was able to get javelins off on his Campanian Cav. This unit was worth it. It basically helped bring down a Campanian Cav. Not enough kills on my Thessalian Cav to make them worth it, and not enough on my general either. Too expensive a unit to let it be getting caught up the way I did. Now, most of my Thurio spears, all things considered, did fairly well, and my hoplites, all things again considered, they did fairly well. But you know, these units should not have gotten any kills. Pikemen are just way too immobile, and I should not have allowed them to get any kills on me that way. This is what happens when you can't support that hoplite fight. You can see his Libyans and Samnites tanked it out against my hoplites, and that's as expected. So, and then even his hoplites are better than mine, even though that fight will take quite a long time. Anyway, this was a waste for him, but it's the only place where I really got him. Like, I killed his slingers well, I got this mercenary Campanian Cav, but after that, it just wasn't good enough. Like, I didn't do enough damage to help turn the battle in my favor. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that one. Just going to try and keep thinking through some of these maybe less expected builds and see if I can get some of these properly executed and come up with something interesting for you to watch. Hope you all learned something from it and enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.